As the paradox sliced through the velvet cosmos, Captain Zillock stood motionless, his gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of color and light displayed on the main viewport. The anomaly ahead, a shimmering tear in the fabric of space, pulsed like the heartbeat of a giant celestial being. His crew's tension was palpable, a thick silence enveloping the bridge as the ship edged closer to the unknown. "Steady," Zillock murmured, his voice barely above a whisper yet heard by all. The alien technology at their fingertips was the pinnacle of interdimensional science, yet in the face of this unprecedented anomaly, it felt woefully inadequate. Just then, the door to the bridge slid open with a soft hiss, breaking the spell of apprehension. Tara Benson stepped through, toolkit in hand, her presence starkly human amid the ship's alien elegance. Her blue jumpsuit was a splash of color against the gray tones of the bridge, her brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Captain, I got here as fast as I could. What's the situation?" Tara's voice was light, her demeanor calm, a stark contrast to the underlying tension. She was the newest addition to the crew, a human technician famed for her expertise in quantum mechanics, yet untested in actual fieldwork. Zillock turned to her, his features hardening slightly. "We are about to enter the anomaly. All previous protocols have failed. It's unlike anything we've encountered." His voice held a gravity that made Tara's heart skip a beat. Despite her vast training, the reality of their mission was daunting. As Tara approached her console, the anomaly outside surged, sending a ripple of light across the ship's hull. The paradox shuddered, alarms blaring briefly as the crew braced themselves. Initiating emergency protocol, Dr. Vreen, the ship's chief scientist, announced from his station. His tentacles moved deftly across the luminescent control panels, his usual calm demeanor replaced by a focus so intense it was almost palpable. Tara, feeling a surge of adrenaline, glanced at the manual open on her console. It was supposed to contain all known information about their equipment and protocols, yet she felt a deep, unsettling certainty that today the manual was not enough. Her eyes caught something unusual, a warning label beneath a small, nondescript panel on her console. "Do not press." Her curiosity piqued, but she tucked the thought away for now, focusing on assisting Dr. Vreen. As the paradox entered the anomaly's threshold, a brilliant flash of light enveloped the ship. The crew tensed, expecting the worst. But then, as quickly as it had begun, the turbulence ceased. They were through, floating in a space that defied visual description, colors, and lights intertwining in ways that defied physics. Captain Zillock let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Status report," he commanded, his voice steady once more. "We're stable, for now," Dr. Vreen responded, surprise evident in his tone. "But I don't know how long it will last." Tara's gaze drifted back to the warning label. Her mind, ever curious and defiant, whispered a reckless thought. What if that button could help? She shook her head, trying to dismiss the idea as quickly as it had formed. After all, the manual said, "Do not press." Yet, as she looked out at the bewildering beauty of their surroundings, a part of her wondered, what if the answers they needed lay just beyond the boundaries they were warned never to cross? The paradox hung suspended in the vibrant tapestry of the anomaly, a realm where the rules of physics seemed rewritten into a surreal poem of light and color. The alien crew members, their features sharp against the soft glow of the control panels, monitored the readings that flickered across their screens, data streams that defied all their prior understanding. Captain Zillock remained at the helm, his gaze fixed on the swirling vortex outside, while Dr. Vreen, with his tentacles wrapped precisely around the delicate instruments, murmured calculations under his breath. The bridge was a symphony of concentrated silence, punctuated only by the occasional beep of a console or the soft hum of the ship's engine. In contrast, Tara Benson moved about with a restless energy that seemed out of sync with the methodical pace of her alien colleagues. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more intriguing than the last. The forbidden button gnawed at her curiosity, an itch she was all too tempted to scratch. She knew the risks. The label was clear enough. Do not press. Yet the part of her that thrived on solving puzzles, the very reason she'd been recruited for this mission, wondered if the answer they needed might lie in defying that warning. As she pondered, a sudden lurch shook the ship. Alarms blared, slicing through the bridge's calm. The anomaly outside intensified, its colors swirling faster, as if agitated. Instability increasing. "We're being pulled deeper into the anomaly," one of the crew shouted, his voice tense. Dr. Vreen's eyes widened, his usual composure cracking slightly. "The spatial-temporal fabric here is highly volatile. Our shields won't withstand much more of this fluctuation. We need a solution, and quickly." Zilok turned sharply, his expression grave. "Suggestions, Dr. Vreen. Our standard protocols are ineffective against these conditions." Dr. Vreen hesitated, his gaze sweeping the bridge, finally landing on Terra. "Perhaps it is time to consider less conventional methods." Terra felt every eye on the bridge turn towards her. Swallowing her nerves, she stepped forward. "There might be something. There's a button. It's not standard, part of the alien tech we've never fully understood. The manual explicitly says not to press it, but—" "Absolutely not," Zilok interjected firmly. "It is forbidden for a reason. The risks are too great." "But Captain," Terra persisted, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "every protocol we know has failed. This button, maybe it's a failsafe, something the original creators installed for emergencies like this." The crew murmured among themselves, the tension palpable. Zilok considered Terra's words, his jaw set. Finally, he nodded reluctantly. "Prepare the button. But understand, Technician Benson, if this fails, if it endangers the ship or the crew." "I understand, Captain," Terra replied, her throat tight with the weight of responsibility now resting on her shoulders. With the crew's anxious eyes following her every move, Terra approached the console. Her hand hovered over the small, sealed panel that hid the mysterious button. Taking a deep breath, she flipped open the cover, revealing a simple, unassuming button beneath. The bridge was utterly silent, every crew member holding their breath. Terra's finger hovered over the button, the weight of the moment settling heavily upon her. "Well, it was shiny, and I got bored," she whispered to herself, a half-hearted attempt to cut through the tension with humor. With a final glance at Captain Zilok, who nodded once, albeit with a furrowed brow, Terra pressed the button. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The swirling colors outside stabilized, slowing into a mesmerizing, gentle flow. The alarms ceased, and the ship steadied, as if a storm had passed, leaving calm waters behind. The crew erupted into relieved cheers, but Terra remained still, her gaze fixed on the viewport, her mind reeling with the implications of what she had just done. She had defied a direct warning, taken a gamble on her instincts, and it had paid off. But why? What was the purpose of a button that could only be used when all else failed? As the paradox resumed its journey, now steady and safe, Terra knew her adventure with the alien technology was just beginning. There were answers out there, hidden in the fabric of the universe, and she was more determined than ever to find them. The paradox had steadied, humming gently as it resumed its course through the now calm anomaly, its colors lazily swirling outside the viewport like paint on a cosmic canvas. The ship's bridge had returned to its usual state of quiet efficiency, but the atmosphere was charged with a new energy, a mix of relief, curiosity, and awe. Captain Zilok stood by the main console, discussing quietly with Dr. Vreen the implications of what had just occurred. Both leaders were deep in thought, their expressions serious. Zilok occasionally glanced towards Terra, who was busy at her station, her fingers dancing over the controls as she ran diagnostics on the ship's systems. Terra, for her part, felt a rush of exhilaration tempered with a heavy dose of reality. She had acted on instinct, defying not only the manual but also the express orders of her captain. The success of her action did not erase the weight of the potential consequences she could have faced. As she worked, Dr. Vreen approached her, his tentacles curling slightly in what she had come to recognize as a gesture of contemplation. "Technician Benson, your intervention was most unconventional," he began, his tone neutral yet tinged with respect. "And effective. I am tasked with understanding why. Would you assist me in analyzing the data from the event?" Tara nodded eagerly, grateful for the opportunity to delve deeper into the mystery. "Of course, Dr. Vreen. I want to understand it as much as you do." Together, they pored over the ship's data logs, tracing the changes in energy patterns and ship stability before and after the button was pressed. The button itself was an anomaly, unlike any technology they were familiar with. It was connected to the ship's core systems yet functioned independently, hinting at a design philosophy that integrated fail-safes directly into the user interface, accessible only under dire circumstances. "Look here," Dr. Vreen pointed at a series of readings on the screen. "The moment you activated the button, there was a significant spike in quantum fluctuations. It appears the button doesn't just stabilize the ship, it temporarily alters the local space-time fabric, realigning us with the least chaotic state." Tara absorbed the information, her mind racing. "So it's like hitting a cosmic reset button. It doesn't fix the problem permanently but stabilizes the environment enough for us to get out of trouble." "Essentially, yes," Dr. Vreen confirmed. "It suggests that the creators of this technology understood the inherent risks of interdimensional travel. This button is a last resort, a way to ensure the survival of the ship and crew when all conventional methods fail." The implications were staggering. Such technology could change the very nature of space exploration, making the most dangerous reaches of the cosmos more accessible to all species brave enough to venture into them. Captain Zillock joined them, having overheard the last part of their discussion. "This changes everything," he stated, looking between Tara and Dr. Vreen. "We must proceed carefully. This technology is powerful and potentially dangerous. We are treading in unknown waters." He paused, then added, looking directly at Tara, "Technician Benson, you took a great risk today, one that paid off. But let it be a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility." Tara nodded solemnly, feeling the weight of his words. "Understood, Captain. I promise to be more cautious." The rest of the day was spent in detailed analysis and planning. The crew was briefed on the findings, and protocols were updated to include what they had learned about the mysterious button. Tara felt a sense of pride as her actions were officially integrated into the ship's operational doctrine. Her status on the ship solidified not just as a technician, but as a vital member of the crew who had saved them all. As night fell on the Paradox, Tara looked out at the tranquil anomaly now passing peacefully by their windows. She couldn't help but feel a thrill at the thought of what lay ahead. The universe was vast, filled with mysteries and dangers, but also infinite possibilities. And she, Tara Benson, had just opened the door to one of them. A palpable sense of relief washed over the Paradox as the crew settled into their routines, navigating the once turbulent anomaly with newfound confidence. The bridge, typically a hub of calculated activity, had an air of contemplative calm. As the team absorbed the ramifications of their recent brush with catastrophe and the unexpected solution that had saved them, Captain Zillock stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the data screens that flickered with complex diagrams and streams of numbers, silent testimonies to the ship's stability. His mind, however, was elsewhere, pondering the delicate balance of power and responsibility that the discovery of the button's function entailed. "Captain, all systems continue to show optimal performance, and our course is stable," reported the navigation officer, breaking Zillock's reverie. "Thank you, Lieutenant," Zillock replied, nodding slightly. His voice was calm, but his mind raced with strategic considerations. The technology they had unwittingly used could not remain a secret, nor could it be taken lightly. Meanwhile, Tara and Dr. Vreen had temporarily converted a section of the lab into a dedicated research area for the button. The device itself, now regarded as a quantum mechanical marvel, was isolated under a transparent energy shield. It glowed faintly, its surface smooth and unassuming yet capable of profound effects. Tara, clipboard in hand, was meticulously documenting every test and observation. Beside her, Dr. Vreen operated a series of holographic interfaces, projecting models of the ship's dimensional field both before and after the button was pressed. The fluctuations in the quantum field seemed to stabilize almost instantly upon activation. Dr. Vreen noted, his voice a mixture of awe and caution. It's as if the device resets our spatial temporal coordinates to a default state, one that is inherently stable. Tara leaned in closer, her eyes tracing the swirling patterns of the hologram. Could we replicate this effect, or is it unique to this button? She asked, her mind alight with the possibilities such technology presented. Dr. Vreen paused, considering her question. Potentially, but we would need to understand the underlying principles much more deeply. This technology isn't just about pressing a button. It's about controlling the very fabric of reality. As they spoke, Captain Zilok entered the lab, his presence commanding yet curious. How goes the investigation, Dr. Ms. Benson? We are making progress, Captain, Dr. Vreen responded. But the more we learn, the more we realize how much we do not yet understand. Tara added, it's like having a map with half the directions missing. We know where to start and where to end, but the path in between is unclear. Zilok nodded thoughtfully. Keep at it, but remember, we must tread carefully. The potential for misuse is as significant as the potential for discovery. The rest of the day was spent in deep analysis and cautious experimentation. Tara and Dr. Vreen worked to delineate the button's parameters, its range of influence, the duration of its effects, and any potential side effects. As the paradox continued its journey through the now stable anomaly, the research team made a small yet crucial breakthrough. They isolated the specific frequency of quantum vibrations that seemed to trigger the stabilization effect. This could be it, Tara exclaimed, excitement creeping into her voice. If we can generate this frequency independently, we might be able to replicate the effect without the button. Dr. Vreen smiled, a rare expression of satisfaction crossing his features. Perhaps, Ms. Benson, perhaps, but let us proceed with caution. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but not all are meant to be tampered with freely. That night, as Tara gazed out at the stars, her thoughts were a mix of wonder and wariness. They had touched the fabric of the universe, felt its pulse, and altered its flow. The power was exhilarating, the responsibility immense, but for all the uncertainty, one thing was clear. They had just scratched the surface of what was possible, and the journey ahead was as daunting as it was thrilling. The atmosphere aboard the Paradox had shifted palpably since the activation of the mysterious button. What was once a routine exploration mission had transformed into a groundbreaking venture into quantum technology and its potential applications. The crew was abuzz with discussions and debates about the implications of their findings, each member contributing their thoughts and theories. In the heart of this intellectual ferment, Tara Benson stood by the newly established Quantum Command Center, a section of the lab dedicated to harnessing and understanding the button's power. She and Dr. Vreen had become the unofficial leaders of this bold new project, tasked with unraveling the mysteries of the button and ensuring its safe application. Today, they planned a unique experiment, one that would blend human creativity with alien technology in a way never before attempted. Tara had proposed using various organic compounds not just in traditional experiments, but in a more relatable format. Food. It was an unconventional idea. But then, convention had already been thrown out the airlock when she pressed that forbidden button. Are you sure about this, Tara? Dr. Vreen asked, his tone mixed with skepticism and curiosity as he looked over the setup. Tables were laden with dishes that ranged from the simple to the exotic, each paired with a detailed analysis of its biochemical makeup. Absolutely, Tara replied with a grin. If a greasy pizza can save the ship, who knows what we might learn from a buffet? The crew gathered around, intrigued by the spread of foods that included dishes like spicy Thai curry, rich chocolate cake, and even a platter of exotic alien fruits that had been gathered during past missions. Each dish was labeled not just with its name, but with the potential quantum frequencies it might emulate. "All right, everyone," Tara announced. "Today we dine for science." Each dish here corresponds to a specific environmental setting we can potentially emulate. By consuming these dishes, we're not just feeding ourselves. We're exploring new frontiers in terraforming. The crew laughed, the mood light and festive. One by one, they sampled the dishes, noting their observations and speculations about each one's potential impact on environmental simulation. Captain Zillock, ever the stoic leader, even allowed himself a small slice of chocolate cake, nodding approvingly at the rich, complex flavors. As the meal progressed, Tara and Dr. Vreen monitored the quantum readings from a console that had been calibrated to detect any fluctuations similar to those caused by the pizza incident. To their delight, they began to notice subtle changes as different dishes were consumed and digested, their organic compounds interacting in unforeseen ways. "It's working," Tara whispered to Dr. Vreen, her eyes wide with excitement. "Look at the readings. See how the frequencies change with each dish." Dr. Vreen adjusted his sensors, his usual reserve giving way to enthusiasm. "Incredible. It appears that different foods do indeed emulate different environmental effects. This could revolutionize how we approach terraforming and environmental control." As the experiment wound down, the crew discussed their findings, their voices filled with excitement and wonder. They talked of publishing their research, of sharing their discoveries with the scientific community, and perhaps most importantly, of continuing their experiments. Tara looked around at her colleagues, her heart full. What had started as a simple, if reckless, act of curiosity had blossomed into a journey of discovery that bridged cultures, disciplines, and species. They had not only unlocked new scientific horizons, but had found a way to make the alien technology more accessible, more human. The chapter closed with the crew of the Paradox, united by their shared mission and newfound purpose, cleaning up after their unconventional feast. Laughter and chatter filled the air, a stark contrast to the usual hum of machinery. Above them, the stars twinkled, silent observers to the little ship that could, and did, change the course of interdimensional exploration. The dawn on the Paradox was metaphorical. The timeless expanse of space held no sunrise, yet a new day began, charged with promise and the electric buzz of discovery. Captain Zillock stood at the observation deck, gazing out at the star-studded infinity, a rare sense of satisfaction coloring his thoughts. The ship, a beacon of both alien and human ingenuity, had proven to be more than a vessel. It was a crucible for groundbreaking integration of vastly different technologies and cultures. In the Quantum Command Center, now affectionately dubbed the Culinary Lab by the crew, Tara Benson and Dr. Vreen reviewed the data from the previous day's experiments. The screens displayed complex graphs and numbers, but beneath the quantum mechanics lay a simple truth. Food, a basic human necessity, had become the key to unlocking the secrets of alien terraforming technology. "Look at this correlation, Dr. Vreen," Tara pointed out, her finger tracing the line on the graph where the quantum fluctuations had spiked. "When we introduced the capsaicin from the spicy dishes, the environmental simulations showed an increase in temperature control. It's like we're cooking up our own little worlds." Dr. Vreen, his eyes reflecting the glow of the data screens, nodded thoughtfully. "Indeed, Tara." And the serotonin boost from the chocolate cake seemed to stabilize the mood fluctuations in the biodome's atmosphere. "It's fascinating how human biochemistry translates into environmental engineering through this technology." Their conversation was interrupted by Captain Zillock's entrance. His approach was quiet, respectful of the scientific sanctuary the lab had become. "I just spoke with Earth Command," he began, his voice carrying the weight of his responsibility. "They're astounded by our findings and are eager to initiate a multi-ship project based on our work here." Tara's eyes widened, her heart leaping at the implication. A multi-ship project. So, we're really expanding this. Yes, Zilok confirmed, a trace of pride in his tone. Your discovery, our discovery, has opened up new possibilities not just for terraforming, but for interspecies cooperation and technological advancement. The Paradox is to be the flagship of this new fleet with you, Dr. Vreen, and your team leading the scientific endeavors. Overwhelmed with a mix of excitement and a daunting sense of duty, Tara took a deep breath. The lab around her, filled with alien equipment and human culinary creations, symbolized the unity they had achieved. She smiled at Dr. Vreen, who returned the gesture with an acknowledging nod. The following weeks were a blur of preparations. The Paradox was retrofitted and upgraded, serving both as a scientific research vessel and a diplomatic envoy to the planets and species they would encounter. Tara and her team expanded the Culinary Command Center, equipping it with more sophisticated instruments to explore and manipulate the environmental effects of various organic compounds. As the Paradox set course towards its first destination in this new mission, the crew gathered in the observation deck. Tara, standing beside Captain Zilok and Dr. Vreen, addressed the assembly. Today we embark on a journey not just through space, but through the possibilities of science and cooperation. What started as a mistake, a delicious one, has shown us that the universe is more interconnected than we ever imagined. Let's continue to explore these connections, to see where they lead us. The crew cheered, their faces alight with the possibilities that lay ahead. They were pioneers on the edge of a new frontier, armed with curiosity and a newfound understanding of their place in the cosmos. As the Paradox slipped silently through the void, its path illuminated by distant stars and the soft glow of quantum screens, Tara looked out at the vast universe. It was beautiful, mysterious, and now just a little more understandable, thanks to a shiny button and a slice of pizza.